Hey, thank you for watching the U.A.P. channel, one of my two channels. Now, let's have a little review. Last time on U.A.P. we visited the London Underground and we saw them digging out the pre-existing tunnels while we were told another narrative.
No one was even absolutely sure where all the power cables, gas mains and sewers were sited. Some weren't even mapped. Londoners had little notion what was going on under their feet. The Stone Age tunnelers,
Is that a turd hanging on his ass? Or is he about to roll back onto a sharp rock?
Their arrowheads out of the chalk.
They used deer antlers. And look at us, how sophisticated we are now. We use wooden handled steel shovels. There go the happy workers. Oh, now we got a spiral. That channel tunnel.
This story is as interesting as it's boring. It's about tunnels.
Well, look at this old stuff about the channel. Way back, black and white days. It was before they invented color. You know, when my parents were born, they hadn't invented color yet. And, well, you can see they had model trains and everything for it. They knew about it. Oh, that channel tunnel. They've known about it. Look at this. There's the reclaimed sea from the material that they dug up. But let's hear what they have to say about it in a minute.
From Dover comes the heartening news that a channel tunnel is certain.
It's certain. It's so certain. It was certain in the 50s and the 40s. It was certain all the way back through the 1800s.
Page from our Sunday Morning Almanac, January 20th, 1986.
86.
33 years ago today.
33.
The day British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and French President Francois Mitterrand broke new ground.
The United Kingdom and France have decided today, on the basis of reports by experts, to link their two countries by a twin-bore tunnel.
A twin-bore tunnel, we've decided today, although in 1876 and even as far back as 1802, they had done it, they had drawn it up, they had even pictured the reclaimed land from the sea, from the material dug up. And again, 1875. But yeah, they had in 1802, they were already started.
1986 announcement, construction began for real.
For real.
And when the British and French tunneling crews first met in the middle in 1990,
this is such bullcrap. Look at them yuck it up with smiling
it
duper's
was very
delight.
big news.
First time anyone has been able to walk between Britain and France since 8,000 years ago.
40 yards below the channel.
31 miles long, 23 miles of it underwater, the Channel Tunnel, or Chunnel for short, is a crucial link, both real and symbolic, between Britain and France.
For over 130 years, it's been the dream of engineers to link both sides of the Dover Straits. But the early tunnelers seem to be in pretty bad straits themselves.
Especially when they leaned back on a sharp, straight rock that went straight up their wazoos, and they made unplanned visits to the proctologist. It's not recreational.
Since the early 1800s, people started having cunning plans on how to build a tunnel underneath the channel. But it wasn't until 1986 when the design actually started of what we know today as the Channel Tunnel.
It actually started for real. Look, they had been building it since 1802. They literally had started building it, and they said politics got in the way.
It took 8 years to design, construct, and commission. The project includes the longest ever undersea tunnel.
Ever?
We call it the Channel Tunnel, but in fact it's 3 parallel tunnels driven underneath the sea through a layer of chalk marl.
It's
there
a
are 2
marl
main running
burl.
tunnels.
Get it?
And a smaller service tunnel. They're mostly built by tunnel boring machine, but some parts are also excavated by hand using handheld
Look at that
tools.
crap.
The tunnels aren't straight or level. They curve gently from left to right and up and down,
Bulge.
staying
Where's
in the favourable
curve
chalk
of the
marl
earth?
strata. But when you go through the tunnel today, you can't feel the bends, and that's how you know that
like,
the design and construction were successful.
Like
on average, the tunnel is 45 metres underneath the seabed and up to 115 metres below the highest sea level. To optimise the construction time, the French engineers immediately built a shaft close to the sea so that they could start tunnelling simultaneously in one direction towards Folkestone and in the other direction towards their inland terminal.
Yeah. So, okay, why not just, what happened to all the excavated material, and why don't they use it to reclaim land?
It's a huge shaft, 55 metres diameter.
A huge shaft.
I'll
tell you about it, lady.
Deep. That's the height of a 20-storey building.
What?
On the UK side, they had very little land available to build the terminal.
What?
So for this reason, they had to raise the terminal above
available.
Existing ground level.
That does not make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. Very little land available.
Well, this would have involved bringing in countless lorries if they were to bring the materials in by road. So the engineers decided to pump the sand from the sea to create an embankment.
So they're pulling sand from the sea to create an embankment, but then they're trying to get rid of all this material that they supposedly dug out, but then you don't see it anywhere. It disappeared. Let's think about this. A more sensible thing would have been not disturbing the ocean floor's sand, you know?
The shortest distance between the two coasts is 34 kilometres, but the tunnels are actually 50 kilometres long.
That doesn't make any sense at all. So, by my rough calculation here, it costs $516 million per mile to construct the tunnel, and it took you 16 kilometers to go up 45 meters?
Because they go as far as the terminals, which are situated inland.
Why don't the tunnels come up out of the ground and then you just run regular trains to the terminals?
The main running tunnels are 7.6 metres in diameter. There's also a smaller service tunnel.
Okay, well that's the secret tunnel, isn't it? For sure.
Which runs between the two running tunnels. The running tunnels are where the trains go, by the way. The service tunnel is used for ventilation and for maintenance access to the main tunnels. Because of its smaller diameter, it makes it less risky to build, so the service tunnel was built first to confirm the geology for the exact location of the larger running tunnels.
In other words, there are more tunnels to be found, and the one that guided them was already there, at least for a while.
The tunnels merge at 2 points under the sea in crossovers, which you can probably guess from the name, allow the trains to cross over from one tunnel to the other. They're huge caverns, 160 metres long and 20 metres wide. And the French crossover was located 12 kilometres from the shaft, which meant that the men working there had to spend up to 3 hours a day travelling to and from their work site. You may wonder what happened to this massive amount of chalk that was dug out from under the sea.
I wonder.
Well, as I said, engineers love a challenge, and the two teams came up with quite different solutions. In France, the chalk was crushed and mixed with water so it could be pumped behind a specially constructed dam 37 metres high.
They don't show it. I couldn't find it.
On the British side, because of their short amount of land available, they used the chalk that it dug up from under the sea using a technique called land reclamation to build.
But there's this super old drawing of the very thing. Did they really just do that? Huh. It's just interesting to me. I don't think that we've tracked it down.
13,000 people were trained and worked on the construction.
They were trained, just trained.
Because the railway track runs over this point.
Another reinforcing thing. You can see the chalk up in the above it there.
So to be clear, this isn't the tunnel she was talking about. This is a different tunnel. This one was built, this was already existing in the 1800s. And it goes under the channel, under the English Channel.
Oh, here we go then. The test bore. That was created for testing the machine, apparently. It's meant to connect up with the rail line, but I don't think it did actually.
So what was it there for?
Let's take a look along there.
Why does it turn so sharply? How did they fit the machine?
So the sleepers on the floor
corner
are rotten away. Would have been the main.
Sleepers.
would have been the main floor.
I don't know, he keeps calling them sleepers in this video. I don't know what that means. They're planks of wood to me. But what do I know? I speak English. I think sleepers are like people who sleep a lot.
Got writing on the wall there saying this tunnel was begun in 1880. As you can see.
Yep.
1880 there. Basically by William Sharp.
Basically. If it's written there, it must be true. But if that hadn't been written there, they wouldn't have told us about this, or they'd say that they just did it.
The wood.
Give us
flooring. Sleepers.
10
basically gone to sponge.
Billions.
You hear that there?
Billions of dollars.
That is the train above us.
That would be creepy.
That's good. As you see, the wetness in this place is absolutely tremendous. Despite doing that on the walls, you've got the clay coming off in your hand. And that's not a good sign, especially if it's going to, you know, a risk of collapse. Let's take a look along more. Massive collapse. Oh! Now we're coming to a really unstable section here. Look at this shit. Whoa, see how far we can get. I don't know how far we can get.
I'm not laughing at him. It's just funny when somebody slips and almost falls and doesn't hurt themselves. Do I have to explain myself?
Right, this is the as far as I can go anyway. You can see the water's too high and it's just too bloody dangerously quiet. I've only got boots on, I ain't got bloody waders. So this is where the journey ends. Let's make our way back.
So the tunnel didn't end. It's not, there's no sign of stopping. There's no sign at all that they stopped.
It's a weird hole thing here. It's actually carved into the bore. I don't know what that's all about. It's got a hole there, and over here, there's two
pipes
sunk into the bore again. And I reckon there's something here. Don't know what, but something.
Wow, what is it? Anode, cathode.
See the water on the floor there? That's pretty deep. If it weren't for these sleepers, we'd be pretty darn far.
Sleepers?
Got the collapse again, the old materials.
See how old it looks, and the newer tunnels that they're like making in like the 60s or whatever, when they show them, do they look just as old as that?
That was an experience. Just off the bore, basically opposite the bore, is this kind of chamber kind of thing, being propped up by the old sleepers again. And there's water dripping down constantly there. That must be something to do with the spring they have. Total collapse at the end there.
So it goes off a different direction.
You can see the water more clearly there. There's actually crystals going on the roof.
Collapsed.
Here is the collapse. Look at that chalk above me here. Flipping hell. I bet there's chalk all the way along this. Not leaning on the sleepers. There you go. Nature taking its place.
That would be unnerving.
If you ever take a train from Dover to Folkestone, just before you get to the Warren, this would be basically under it. So just think, you could be going past right now, and we're under here.
Because that's where it drove down.
Technology worked fantastic. But in 1882 the project was halted. After getting a mile out to sea, Watkins' dream was over, not because it was too hard to build, but simply because the government didn't want to take the political risk with the tensions between England and France at the time.
Sure. Not because it was too difficult. And then nobody else thought of it or did it, huh? I don't know. I think they had the tunnels. I think they have them now.